You want to know one thing I find weird about life simulator games? The characters never die. I know life simulators are all about that, you know, life thing, but the fact that Raymond from Animal Crossing New Horizons will outlive me keeps me up at night. I think the worst offense to this, though, is Tomodatchi life. This stupid, wretched, puny game. Constantly, these stupid little guys are getting into scenarios where they should be dead, but they just reappear like nothing happened, like a freaking cartoon character. The worst part is that they can have kids, so if we don't do anything about this situation, the island population will get way out of whack. Another thing is that I want to know, which out of my 100 islanders is the uncontested best out of all of them? Which one stands above the rest? Which one is faster, stronger, and stronger too? Well, there is the ranking board, but that's boring. I want to have some fun with this. And plus, all the options on the ranking board are either constantly changing or controlled by the player. And also constantly changing. No. What we need is something more concrete. Like a fight, maybe. Maybe a fight to the death. I got it! Basic summary of Tomodachi Death Island is that it's a playthrough of Tomodachi life mixed with reality shows, or a more recent example, Squid Games. We will start with 100 islanders and slowly whittle down the cast until there's one left. Who's the winner? But how do eliminations happen? Well, there's a lot of different events that could cause the bee to quote-unquote die, and when they die, they're eliminated. The how-abouts of such deaths will be explained in the next chapter though, because there are so freaking many of them to cover. Most of them come from solving a problem Mii has, but a special few of them come from special events outside the apartment. However, at the final 8, none of these special events will be viewed. We will keep time traveling one day into the future, solving every single problem until there is one left. Being the winner! All makes sense? Good, because before we get to we have to talk about some extra things. First of all, my lookalike cannot be deleted. This is a problem because deleting is how we're gonna eliminate these freaks. So, if my lookalike is eliminated, they will be treated as a ghost. That can't die and can be seen at different activities, but does not count towards the total and cannot win the island. Another thing specifically with the season, yes, if this does well, I'll make multiple seasons, so, like, if you don't want to subscribe, then you don't have to, but I'd recommend it. Anyways, with this season, everything has been pre-recorded. As of me writing the script, we are in the final 4. I'm actually writing this script at school, so don't tell anyone. Also, as of me recording this audio, we actually have determined a winner, so I'll add some secret message in the audio that reveals who wins. Did you know you're more likely to die on your birthday? This is true because Flying Cats' lookalike will give you more attention on that day, thus giving you more opportunities to die. This is a real rule, by the way, that I'm adding. Speaking of rules, I think it's finally time that we dive into all of them.
I'm your dad. I'm your son.
Okay.
No, you have to.
Although basically all the ways that a Mii could die in this series are uncommon, I added so many that each episode could probably be deemed as a slaughter. Maybe in some sort of house. The problem is that there are so many rules to keep track of. Well, at least for you viewers, I'm completely knowledgeable about this. And in this segment, I get to read them all off. Yippee! Again, there's so many to keep track of, I don't blame you if you forget most of them, all of them. And I'll try to be clear about how a Mii died in the actual series. Anyways, all the possible deaths can be separated into different categories, so let's start with the largest one. The apartment category is huge, so we have to divide it into even more smaller segments, dependent on the problems a Mii can have. There are a total of 5 problems we have to look over, plus dreaming if you count that as a problem. However, I'm getting ahead of myself because there are some deaths that occur outside the problems, but still happen in the apartments. When a Mii trips, if the surface they trip on is rock solid, then they get a concussion and die. If a Mii passes large gas, then they die. So not, but instead. And yep, that's all of them, so we can move on to... If a Mii super all-time loves or hates a food, then they die from no oxygen and melting respectively. If a miis is sick and you don't have the resources to cure them immediately, they die. If we do have the resources, then we look to our lucky trusty coin to determine which medicine we give them. And if the lucky coin picks wrongly, which it should never do by the way, then the miis dies. But we shouldn't have to worry about that, right? If there's something in a miis stomach that is not supposed to be there, then they die. This also works if they don't have a stomach at all, which is a weird visual bug that happens a lot on Citra. Man, I really hope this doesn't cause any problems. And I know you guys are worried, but don't worry, I won't be adding any more stupid deaths that don't make any sense to the series. If a miis can't get their sneeze out, they die. Hey, who said that? This is only the start, isn't it? Miis will sometimes receive her letter to go on the roof. When a miis goes up on the roof, we will determine if they died by the personality of the person that they met on the roof. By the way, when I say personality in this scenario, I'm talking about character personality, not in-game personality. Just thought I wanted to make that clear. But yeah, from what it seems like, the islanders are very dangerous. I don't know why anyone will want to be friends with someone else on this island. Friends are a good way to stay safe, but most importantly, sane on this island. But they are just as easily able to betray you. When friends are in a fight, they try to kill each other but are unsuccessful. This is such a weird frickin' what the frick am I reading, bro? Once one gets over it, they will try to get them back as a friend. If the other person says yes, they become friends. But if the other person says no, then they kill them. The last thing is that if two people get so mad at each other where fire comes out of them, then they both burn themselves and both die. Due to, you know, being on fire. Due to the nature of the series, there should be no scenario where this happens without the miis being dead. The two most common scenarios where the rain cloud appears is when friendship gets rejected and love gets rejected. And as you saw earlier, friendship getting rejected kills them, but so does love, which we'll get to later. So yeah, sadness just kind of acts as a way to say, oh yeah, the miis is dead. And no, being sick doesn't count because it uses the normal problem icon. So the miis is fine. I mean, unless the flip of the coin gets wrong, so... If you have ever seen me play Tomodatchi Life, first of all, stop stalking me. I have never made a video on playing Tomodatchi Life until now. And second of all, you would know that I suck at the quiz minigames. So I decided to give myself a little incentive by making it so that if I ever mess up a quiz minigame, then the miis that is playing with me dies. So I have to really try and test my knowledge. However, for all the games that are not the quizzes, they die if they win, except for cards and football. I'm letting them get a free pass on those ones. The thing is that if we tie on matching, then they still die because it's my favorite and I want to win! Love can be risky, but also very rewarding, because if they manage to survive all parts of the relationship and have a baby without any of them dying while raising the baby is added as a new islander, which is huge. Hello guys, editing me here, and I just want to say that the script writing of this specific part is just awful, so, all you really need to know is that what I explained during the, sadness portion also applies here too, so... If a miis fails a ask for a date, then they die. Failing a proposing doesn't kill them, but breaking up does. If a miis wants to break up, then I'm just gonna have to look at them awkwardly with like grinning teeth and a big smile with like 2 thumbs up, like, yeah, you got this, you can do this, and just watch the chaos that ensues. Look, it's their decision, okay? If there is a dream where it can be presumed that a miis dies, then they die, and that doesn't count them becoming strange objects. Anyways, we are finally done with the biggest segment, so now we can just step outside and enjoy the scenery. Hey, what's that? During the rap battle event, whoever loses the rap battle dies. It's not brutal because they agreed to this beforehand. And that's, wow, the only one for the fountain segment. I told you these would be fast.
Hello, my name is Ben. I'm at the beach. I'm at the beach.
Especially later in the series, I will be using Judgment Bay to resolve ties. And I'll get to how ties can happen later, don't worry. However, outside of ties, Judgment Bay will be used for one special event that will be revealed later. Winking emoticon. I'll sometimes ask at quirky questions if they would like to, quote-unquote, be eliminated. Most of the time, however, quirky questions will just be used as a way to get to know the characters and give them personality.
Also, this guy's just so cool. I wish I was just like him.
At the grill, I can choose to sit and not blow into the mic, and that will burn one of the miis until they are classified as dead. The person in the contraption at the magic show will die, which means the magic show is one of the only places that confirms a death in this series. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention before, if you die in the game, you die in real life. Obviously, I'm talking about Tomodatchi Quest inside of Tomodachi Life. I wouldn't kill anyone.
And I'm gonna egg roll with it.
That's lost media. You can't order them together. It's lost media.
Any gossip where it can be presumed a person is dead is dead. Anyways, the ranking board will be a little interesting. For the ranking board, I will randomly select 1 out of 5 categories, and the islanders with the least amount on the list chosen will die. How many islanders, you may ask? Well, the total amount of islanders is just gonna be whatever I feel, but the total will be determined before the results are shown to avoid bias. Anyways, the rankings that could be used for this are virtuality ranking, popularity ranking, boy and girl charm ranking. Both will be done at the same time, but only eliminate half each. If I only have one of the 2 charms, then it won't be on the potential list of boards I can use. Pampered ranking. It punishes islanders for being content with life, so I shouldn't do this, but it's funny, so I don't care. And finally, splurge ranking. If the line between eliminated and not eliminated ends up being in a tie, then we will use Judgment Bay to figure out who gets out. For this one, I will randomly select a Mii and test it with 3 others. If all 3 of them have a below 50% relationship with them, then the Mii will die alone. If a Mii ever scores a 0% relationship with any other Mii, then they instantly die, because it's theorized that the other person hates them so much that they killed the first person, even though they've probably never met.
Breaking news, the youngest person ever was just born. What? Holy poop. Breaking news, the
For the news, if it could be presumed that a Mii is dead from the story, then they are dead. This is a case-by-case basis. Anyways, now we are done. I did originally have an extra category with these rules, but I'll tell you now that none of those rules come into play, so I won't waste your guys' time. Or at least waste as little of your guys' time as possible. Now that we are all caught up and know how this works, let's see who's gonna compete in this thing. Oh yeah, by the way, if I sound off for the rest of this recording, it's actually because an evil witch cast a spell on me to make it so that I'm perpetually scared of recording audio. I hope you guys are understanding of this. I always really like these types of competition shows where we see contestants get eliminated one after another. And one of my favorite parts of it is just rooting for some random person and imagining the competition through their shoes. So this is the opportunity for you. Yes, you, the viewer watching this at home, to do the same thing. However, the thing with this series is that we will be starting with the maximum of 100 characters, and that's just way too many to list out one by one. But I don't want to just show you the entire cast and ask you to find your favorite like it's a freaking Where's Waldo puzzle. Instead, it will be more like the rules, and I'll show off Miis based off of different categories. First of all, no Tomodachi Life Island is complete without some IRL representation, including me, my siblings, and a lot of my friends. You could sort of think of these as like the normal civilians of the island. We have all these different wacky characters, and then there's just the normal civilians of the island. Can you guess which one's which? Also, yes, my cousin is literally just a dry bones from Mario. You know, I always thought there was something wrong with my family photos, but I could just never put my finger on it. We also have 2 of my pet chickens in this category. I did make a second channel for my chickens, but the channel's kind of inactive now, so... Okay, next on the docket are some of my OCs. Wait, don't click off this video, I swear I'll make it brief. We got my 2 Splatoon characters, 9 of my Miitopia party members, and because I'm nice, here's what they actually look like on the right, because the Mii Maker isn't very helpful. And finally, some of my own Mii characters, including Beef Boss, because I made Beef Boss, trust. Okay, moving on to gaming, I added a lot of iconic Mario characters. Anyways, the next section might be controversial because I decided to add every single Koopaling because I love them. Look, I even have all their plushies. If you disagree with this decision, then why don't you make your own Tomodachi Death Island? Please, actually, I want this to catch on. Anyways, we got some other Nintendo series representation in here, including Raymond. But Mo will always be the better villager, bar none. However, outside of Nintendo, I also have a couple characters from a grab bag of other games. I do want to add that I was planning on having Charles in this competition. However, I didn't know if we would have the headset item in time, and that's like his main defining feature that sets him apart from Henry. Anyways, from one form of entertainment to the other, here are all the TV show characters that I added, including Chris McClane, which is funny because this series shares an acronym with Total Drama Island. Anyways, even if you have only gotten the slightest peek at my channel, you would know that Battle for Dream Island is my favorite show ever. I wanted to add so many BFDI characters. However, it's really hard to make miis that look like BFDI characters, so I only settled for 3. And you know what? Maybe it was a good thing I had to hold myself back. Anyways, me mentioning that actually gives me a perfect segue into the YouTuber categories, so here are all the YouTuber miis I added. This category also includes some characters from popular Tomodatchi Life series. Finally is the extra category for miis that didn't really fit anywhere else. And yeah, this is when you can really tell this series was recorded in 2025. Also, if you're wondering who Doki is, I think this is the best content I've ever watched in my life. Anyways, those are all the competitors competing for the island. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot to mention before, but they're battling to win the island. Anyways, before we actually launch these miis into the battlefield, there's one more thing I want to mention.
Hold up.
Unlike how standard number practices would have you believe, this series is going to start with episode 0. Not counting this one, which is technically episode -1. Bro, this stupid series is never getting finished. This is because of the fact that we still obviously have to add all the islanders I just listed out, and less obviously unlock all the things we need for the series. Unfortunately, because I want to unlock everything before we start, we have to let the miis be immune for the beginning. Yeah, I know, it defeats the whole point, but I want to be able to take photos of the miis together! Holy crap, is that a cow? Anyways, if you want more details on how I'll be setting this up, read this, which also acts as a guide for people wanting to do their own Tomodachi Death Island at home. Anyways, that's the entire series in a nutshell, I guess. If I somehow had enough commitment to make this entire video fully, then I will probably have enough commitment to edit this video. The series will be in a gaming format, so it'll be a lot easier to make. So all I can say is, see you all in episode 0 where we get everything set up. Can I just mention how surreal it is to finally have this project finished? I first started this, like I mentioned in the video, all the way back in 2025, but it was early 2025, so technically this series has been in the works for a year and a half, and I've had the dream to do this project for years at this point, so I am just so thankful to finally be able to do this. This is definitely the biggest video I have ever made, and it probably will stay like that for a very long time. I don't see anything else topping this anytime soon. Though, I think when it comes to length, some of these episodes of the series will be longer. But yeah, I know it's the generic YouTuber thing to say, but genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for watching. Being able to make stuff like this is just what I live for, man. And although, editing to me is, like, a little bit boring, being able to, like, be here and, like, share this is just, like, oh, it's just so good. So yeah, speaking of that, definitely, like and subscribe if you want to, because that pushes it in the algorithm. But what I really care for are the comments. I love reading comments so much, and I love hearing what people have to say about what I make. So please, if you have anything to say, please comment about it. I'd love to hear about it. So yeah, again, I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'm gonna see you guys very soon.